Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming at you with another piercing related video, and this time I'll be talking about all of my old retired piercings that I no longer have. I'm just going to talk about how they've healed, if I have any scarring left over, and if I'd get them pierced again and all that fun stuff. So without further ado, let's get on with that video. So as I said in the intro, I'm just going to be talking about all the piercings that I used to have, whether they've scarred or not, how painful they were to get done originally, and if I'd ever get them done again. I'm actually going to start with a cheaty one. I'm going to talk about my lobes. I would class these as a retired piercing because they're no longer lobe piercings, they are now stretched ears. Obviously you can see that I've still got something in them, so they haven't really scarred or healed over, but they're definitely a retired normal lobe piercing as I've now stretched them to 12 mil. I don't think I'm going to be getting rid of them anytime soon. Probably might go a size bigger if I ever get to that stage where I'm bored of this size, but for now I'm happy with them. I originally got my first lobes done, I think it's a English shop called Cruise. I know we've definitely got them down in Basingstoke and Tadley, but I don't know whether it's like a large branch of hairdressing / piercing shops. I got them done a few weeks after my 11th birthday. I had to basically make sure that my primary school was okay with it. Had to wear tape over the piercings when they were first done. I mean, in hindsight, I'd say they didn't hurt at all. I'd probably give them a 1 out of 10 for pain getting them done because it's your lobe piercing. The only reason I'd give it a 1 is because I was quite young when I had them done, and also in hindsight I got them done with a gun rather than a needle, which I did for my other lobe piercings. So with a needle going through your lobe, it doesn't hurt at all, whereas the gun, obviously, where it is literally just forcibly pushing a stud through your flesh, it is a little bit more painful. Would I get it done again? I mean, I have still got space to get another lobe piercing, so if any point in my life I just feel like adding an extra stud to my ear, that's probably the way I'm going to go forward. So yeah, I'll definitely get it done again. It's not a hard piercing to look after, so yeah, that is my first retired piercing. Next we're going to move on to the one I've most recently taken out. I think I should start with that one, which was my septum. With all of my other retired piercings, I will try and insert a clip somewhere round about my head of me with the piercing, and if I can't find that, then I'll just insert a picture of a generalised piercing of that area just so you guys know which one I'm talking about. But the septum is a nose piercing. It goes through the centre of your nose. I got this done when I was 16, just over 16 years old. Annoyingly, my piercer said I had to have this weird bar in it for ages, and I physically couldn't get it out myself. So if I wanted a ring in it, I had to go and get it changed over, and because I was finding it quite difficult to chop and change the jewellery, where I was obviously trying to hide it for school or college and trying to hide it around family members, it was just easier to have the small bar in. But once I hit sort of 18, when I still had it, I just flicked the bar up. I just got a horseshoe that had a slightly larger gap in between the two barbells, and I just flicked it up inside my nose whenever I felt it was not appropriate to have it. It's probably one of my favourite piercings. It was only recently, I think August last year, I took it out. Not intentionally, I took it out while I was at the beach. I was discussing with one of my sister-in-laws that I was toying with the idea that I was maybe a little bit too old to have a septum piercing now. Like, I don't know, like, I don't think you can put an age on piercings, but I feel like because I had it for so long, I feel like I'd kind of grown out of having it. It was kind of past the time where it was a novelty to me, and so I took it out. Like, I took the horseshoe out, and I was looking at everyone and I was like, what do you prefer, me with it in or me without a septum ring in my nose? And everyone was saying that they preferred me without it in, and then I disagreed. I loved it because I love piercings, but unfortunately I dropped the bar in the sand, and everyone knows that if you drop something in the sand, it's very unlikely you're going to find it again if it's a small piercing like this big. So yeah, that was my unintentional loss of my septum ring. I would probably get it done again if I was feeling it. I can still just about, I haven't checked in quite a few months, but I took it out in the August, and in January I could still fit I think it was a 14 gauge bar through it. It was painful, my eyes did water. But yeah, I can still get a bar through it. It was probably, I'd say, a 2.5 maybe a 3 to get it pierced originally. It was pretty much just straight through, didn't catch any cartilage, just went through straight the, what do they call it? I think piercers call it the sweet spot, where it's the bit between your cartilage and the outside bit of your nose, which is just a thin bit of skin. Like I said, I loved it. I never caught it on anything. It was one of my favourite piercings, so it hasn't left a scar. If I can still get a bar in it, I'll get back to you on that, either on my Twitter or my Instagram, but as far as I'm concerned, I've not tried to tamper with it since January, so I'm assuming that it's closed. But hey, I'd get it re-pierced if the time was right and I fancied it. And then the next one, if we're working downwards, would have to be my smiley. My smiley was again one of my most favourite piercings, but it was one of my most short-lived. The smiley is the sort of webbing in between your front teeth and your top lip. I loved it. It was one of my favourite piercings. Fun enough, as the name suggests, when you smile, the bar is visible on top of your teeth. I had it for, I think, about 2 months, maybe 3. I was planning on getting it changed to a hoop, because at the moment I had a bar, sort of a slightly angled bar, a little bit like the original one that was in my septum. So I just had 2 little balls poking out every time I smiled at anyone, which I thought was super cute, super discreet for work, but it still was a piercing that I loved. Unfortunately, it got ripped out. Not completely ripped out, but it got caught with my lip at one point, and it tore just a little bit too much where it wasn't healing, it wasn't comfortable. So I went and had that taken out by the piercer that done it. It hasn't scarred. Honestly, I wouldn't get it done again, purely because as much as it didn't hurt to get it done, because it's such a thin bit of skin, it was literally a 0, I couldn't feel anything. But to get it taken out was probably one of the more painful piercings that I've ever had to deal with. I would say it was definitely up there with maybe like an 8 out of 10. I had to hold my top lip up whilst I had the piercer's trainee clamping down on one of the balls on the end and holding it steady, whilst I had the piercer himself with another clamp holding his finger down on the piercing and then trying to unscrew the ball on the other side with a clamp, because apparently smiley piercings can be quite dangerous where they're so close to your gum line that reaches your teeth. The sort of inner workings where the ball screws onto the bar, it can calcify, and that's what happened to mine, and the balls had basically fused onto the bar, so I couldn't get them off without 3 people. So yeah, definitely wouldn't get it done again, purely for the hassle of trying to get it out and the pain it caused when I ripped it, but it was definitely one of my cutest piercings ever, and I will hopefully try and find a clip, as it was coming on 3 years ago now that I had it taken out, but if I can find a photo, it'll be somewhere around here. Then the next one was another oral piercing, but instead this time it was for my, I think it's called your tongue webbing, which is again the sort of thin bit of webbed skin, I suppose, that connects your tongue to the bottom of your mouth, so there. That is definitely my shortest lived piercing. That was in my mouth for all of, I think, 4 or 5 weeks. It did not last a lot at all. Unfortunately, my local piercer that has done all of my piercings and basically all of my tattoos bar 1 or 2, and then all of my piercings have all been done in the same tattoo and piercing shop. Unfortunately, my piercer was a bloke and he had quite big hands, so he actually refused to do tongue webbing piercings in that parlour. So I actually went to a different shop to get my webbing done. Again, it was just the same as my smiley. It literally did not hurt at all. However, again, like tongue piercings, it did swell, which was quite strange because it's only a thin bit of skin. I didn't think it would affect my tongue as much as it did. It was definitely very, very painful, very hard to swallow, really hard to eat. I spoke with a lisp for a couple days afterwards. It wasn't paying off the aesthetics that I wanted. Like, no one could really see the piercing unless I lifted my tongue up and was like, But with my smiley, if I smiled, people could see. So yeah, for the discomfort and the constant like clicking every time I spoke and my tongue moved, the bar would click on the back of my bottom teeth, which was then wearing down the gum line and the enamel on the back of my bottom teeth. So for the health risks and just the general annoyance and pain, it wasn't worth it. So yeah, that quickly came out just because the clicking was getting a bit annoying and I sounded a little bit like a raptor when I spoke. So yeah, that one came out pretty quick. My next one would have been my lip. I had this for I think 1.5 years from 2016 to 2017 as far as I remember. Basically, the story behind my lip, I never actually wanted my lip pierced. I really wanted my nose done while I was in college. My dad has a thing against nose piercings. I don't know why, but it's personal preference. He just really, really hates nose piercings. So I wanted to get my nose pierced and he said no. And I went, okay, well, what are you less opposed to, a nose piercing or a lip piercing? And he went, a lip piercing. I was like, okay then, well, I wanted a piercing, so whatever he said yes to, I was gonna go and get, obviously. So I went and got my lip pierced. Luckily, but unluckily for me, went to my tattoo and piercing parlour that I always go to, and at that time the trainee piercer was very fresh and new to the job, and they said, oh, he hasn't completed all of his training yet, do you mind if he does your lip piercing? You can get it for free because it's done by a trainee. As long as you're happy to have him do it, then you can get a piercing for free. And I thought, well, I collect piercings, getting one for free, yes please. So I said I wanted it quite high up, so it sat just underneath my bottom lip, because I've seen so many girls on Pinterest and Instagram with these beautiful little like gem studded lip piercings, and it makes their bottom lip look fuller. It just generally looks really cute. He marked me up, it looked fine to me. I looked in the mirror and thought, yeah, that looks fine. And then when he pierced me, I don't know what happened, it just kind of went down, and I ended up with my piercing like basically in my chin. It's not in my chin, but it's so far down, like in my lip, that the flat back bar on the inside of my lip sat straight on my gum line and just wore and wore and wore away until my two front teeth had basically no gums, where they had just been worn away by this metal bar. And I've now been left, funny enough, it's one of the only retired piercings that is scarred really badly, where I now have like a permanent scar / dot in my chin. It now looks like I've got a little bit of a dimple. There's worse things to have, like I'm glad that I've never had cheek piercings because they scar really bad, but it's still a little bit annoying. The piercing itself was pretty bad, to be honest. I wouldn't say it was my most painful, but I've never had a lip piercing before, so I didn't know what I was expecting, but I would say it was definitely about a 6 to get it pierced. And it was when I was sort of waiting for him to get the jewellery to thread it through. I was just sat there with this like 2-inch long needle just randomly through my lip, and I looked at my phone and I saw my reflection, and I did go a little bit dizzy. But as soon as the bar was in, I mean, I wasn't happy. But again, it was a piercing, so I was. Obviously can't have been that bad because I stuck with it for 1.5 years. It was still a cute piercing. I just wish that he had pierced it higher up like we intended, but hey ho. I have been toying with the idea of getting it re-pierced again, but this time actually getting it higher up. But then again, I'm having to pay for a lot of private dentistry work at the moment, and I think my dentist might kill me if I turn up with any sort of oral piercing, because I know they're quite damaging to the teeth and quite damaging to the gums. So I might lean towards getting my other side of my nostril done instead, but hey, my lip is always an option. And my final piercing that has been retired is my most recent piercing that has left my body, and that is one of my nipple piercings, and it was my left one. This again was a very involuntary piercing to come out. I did have both sides done. I got them, I think, 2 weeks after my 18th birthday. They never really healed. I mean, if you guys want sort of a video on 10 things, I know people have already done them, like 10 things that people don't tell you when you have nipple piercings, or relate them to my stretched ears, or I can just do separate videos on things people don't tell you when you get these type of piercings. But yeah, no one really told me that when you get nipple piercings, there is the probability that they will never heal and your body will just continually reject them and reject them and reject them. So I'm really good with my piercings. I clean them every day. I salt bathe them if they ever get like gammy. I'm really good with them, but these piercings just would never heal. And it's only recently, I think probably about 2 months ago, they finally were getting to that stage where they were healing. I thought, 2.5 years later, and they're finally getting there, they're finally healing, I can keep them. And then came the fateful day of the shower. The amount of times I catch them I've kind of become immune to them. However, I've got one of those, what they call the like squidgy net things. I'll insert a picture up here somewhere if you know what I mean, like the wash spongy things. I was just exfoliating my body, you know, doing the shower thing, and I kind of went under my arm, and then as I was bringing it back up to my chest, I felt this stinging sensation, and obviously one of the hooks, or the piercing, had hooked into one of the holes of the netting, and I had then obviously not felt it caught, and I just carried on until it actually caused me pain, and I stopped, and I knew exactly what I'd done. I did contemplate what I was going to do for about 3 minutes, just stood in the shower wondering what was the best way to deal with this. So I just said to myself, I was like, it's fine. If I look down at the water and it's clear, it's not that bad. I've just caught it, it's fine. If I look down at the water and it's pinky red, that's when we've got a problem. And unfortunately I looked down at the water and it was the second option. I had blood running pretty much from my chest all the way down my stomach, my leg, into the water. It looked like I'd killed someone in the bath. So I took the risk and I did look at my paw piercing, and there was nothing of it. Like, I could see where the bar had got hooked round it. It was just the minimal bit of skin actually holding the piercing still in my body. It had to come out. There was no going back from that. It was never going to re-heal nicely, even at all. I got out of the bath and I tried my hands while still holding this little sponge thing so it wouldn't pull anymore. I dried my hands, managed to unhook it, and then I had to get 2 pieces of tissue paper where the metal bar was still wet, so I couldn't get a grip. And I had to get 2 bits of toilet paper, clean obviously, and I had to like unscrew the balls so I could take the final bit that was still left in out of my nipple. And yeah, that was, not gonna lie, one of the most painful things I think I've ever done. I don't regret getting them done. They've definitely, it's a big confidence boost. I don't care what anybody else says. Like, boo, you get your nipples pierced and you just like strut your stuff, and that's what I've been doing for the past 2 years when I've had them. Sometimes it's a nice surprise when you forget you've got them, and then you're getting ready for bed and you just see them and you've got sparkly boobs. It's always a good feeling. But yeah, when you rip them out, that's not a good feeling. No, not a good feeling at all. It has left a tiny scar. I will not be showing that on camera, unfortunately. It has left a tiny, 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 tiny scar. I wouldn't even really call it a proper sort of war wound. The actual nipple itself, obviously, like what I call like the milk hole, whatever you want to call it, that has healed fully, because it's pretty much, the nipple was like this with the bar through, and the nipple bar literally just went like that. It split perfectly down the middle, and so once I left it to heal, it has just healed straight back like that. So the only scars that I'm left with are the 2 holes in which the bar sat in. One side, which is closer to the inside of my chest, has healed beautifully. The skin is just a slightly lighter shade of pink than the rest of my nipples. And then the other side is still quite white, and still looks quite sore, because obviously that was the side it tore from, and it tore that way inwards. So that is a slightly more substantial scar, but then again, I can hardly notice it. It's only when you look super, super close that you can notice any scarring. I did get asked by a few people, are you going to take the other one out, or are you going to get the old one re-pierced? I am currently waiting for my right side to be in a healed place, which when I do take it out, I'm not at risk of infection or any bad scarring. I'm literally just waiting for my right side to settle down enough that I can take the bar out, and then I will be done with those piercings. Under no circumstances will I be getting them re-pierced. At 18 years old, I thought I could conquer the world, so those piercings I thought were not that bad. They were still definitely like an 8.5 out of 10 on the pain scale. But given that the older I get, the lower my pain tolerance becomes, yeah, that is just one of those piercings that I'm never, ever, ever getting redone. They were fun while they lasted, but I've still got the one, so I can enjoy that one for now. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you'd like to see more of me, click that subscribe button. We are only 3 people away from that magic 100. And don't forget to check out any videos you have not yet watched, and leave a comment or like if you want to see any requested videos from me as well. So, see you later. Bye.